morning, welcome to Happy Hour. I'm Tracy Burns in for Rebecca Gomez.
And I am Cody Willard, and this is where I am absolutely thrilled not to be running money once again today.
Absolutely.
That was the
I got it. Well, we got a lot on tap today. But before we get into that, let's check in on the markets. All right, so the major indices ended the day in red territory. Now, the Dow lost 37.5 points, which is nutty considering the Fed comes in, cuts rates. Everybody's supposed to be so happy about this. But then at the same time, all we've been hearing is that it's worked into the market. It's priced in. So why move at all, for that matter?
You know, well, and at the end of the day, you saw it cave back, but that was partly because of this, as we'll talk in a minute, about some downgrade to the bond insurers that hit it later in the afternoon after the Fed had cut. But you're exactly right. It's one of those things, one of the tricky, I talk about this all the time over the years when I was trading. That is, even if you knew what the Fed was going to do before they do it, even if you knew, Beaks, you never watch Trading Places? Even if you had the briefcase beforehand and you knew what the report would be, how do you decide what the market's reaction to that is? It's always a crapshoot, even if you got the information right. So it's double layered. Don't mess with it. You can't ever game that stuff, really.
It's nutty though, because this is what the market wanted. It should have been, but it's never that way. And this is why you can't play this game unless you're a pro.
In the morning meeting, for what it's worth, Terry, our executive producer, turns and says, "Well, what do you guys expect the market will do this morning?" And it's one of those. Again, it's like even if you knew and I said if it'd be 50 basis points, yeah, I expect it to rally because everyone at this point really does think it's priced in. So it's probably not priced in. So if you fade the faders fade, that's the type of logic you get into. It doesn't make any sense. Just stay away from trying to game the Fed.
Exactly. All right, and all that. So, despite the Fed knocking down interest rates by 0.5 point.
Yeah. So, and the market ended up down at the end of the day. Why? Because the Fed can't stop the bond insurers from being downgraded. It can't stop the actual collapse of the fundamentals. It can just try and reliquefy and keep the banking system.
But again, I mean, I'm this wonky chart girl. If you look at the chart of the day, it was up, and then we get this news on the bond insurers, and it's a ski slope right back down because there is still uncertainty in this market.
Well, isn't there always? There's never going to be that point when we got it figured out now.
No. But I think this 50 basis points is by no means a savior.
Absolutely not. I mean, that's one of those things that you look at. Again, it's like even the near-term action is one thing. The intraday action, the response in that immediate, in the first couple hours to the Fed cut is one thing. But then you start to talk about what are the actual economic implications and can that stave off the recession. And really, what I'll be talking about with Todd Harrison later in the show is binary outcomes to what the setup is here.
Right.
In other words, we're looking at a 20
buzzkill.
Well, I'm looking at the two different outrageous end games here. So you either have a market that's up 20+% at the end of the year, or it's down 20+% at the end of the year. The way to play that, of course, is to use options. You buy volatility because it is going to be a wacky, nutty year,
so
whether it's up or down.
Options on the VIX then? On the volatility index?
No,
or are you just buying options on
you can just
stocks?
buy calls and puts on any stocks, and because things will get so much more volatile, as long as you'll actually do both calls and puts, whichever direction goes, the gains on those calls or puts should actually outdistance the 100% loss that you'll have on the opposite side.
Okay, fine. So that being said, we get news from Amazon today. How do you play that?
Amazon out after hours. The fact of the matter is they guided the top line up for about $1 billion.
If you ask me,
you don't want to see them guide up.
I don't want to see. I mean, you got to buy this quarter.
UPOD. It's one of those classic Wall Street principles: under promise, over deliver. You're saying, what the heck is Amazon doing? Not under promising. What if they are under promising?
And then surprise me.
What if business is so good they're still under promising, but they can take it up? I think
you know why? They have profit margin crunch. They have bricks and mortar.
Well, the stock is down a little bit after hours, and for the record, I've been talking about that as a short hedge to say Google and Apple longs. I still don't like Amazon very much here, but after seeing that report and the top line growth, whether the margins are coming down a little bit or not, I would actually be probably taking my hedge off at this point. I don't like to see that much. I don't want to bet against a company that's growing that fast.
Agreed. And then Starbucks, dollar coffee. That's going nowhere fast.
I was reading one of my favorite actual music analysts today, Lefsetz, Bob Lefsetz, which is at lefsetz.com. He'll be on our show next time he's in New York. And he was saying, how long before Starbucks is just outright depressing? It's like the unemployed go to hang out at Starbucks now. It's not the trendy Apple people anymore.
Well, because the place is a mess. You go there, there's milk all over the... I mean, the things that it started out as this entrepreneurial little coffee house. You don't get that feel when you go there anymore.
I worked at the first...
It's a production line coffee place.
It is, and I worked at the first Starbucks in New York City. There were several at the time.
Barista.
I was a barista. My first job in New York City, making $6 an hour plus tips up at 86th and Broadway. Yeah, what can I tell you?
Oh, you make
For the
Mom
record,
proud.
I wouldn't touch Starbucks. It's already down 40-50% over the last year. I still wouldn't touch it. I think they've got more problems ahead. I think it's a classic retail play, really. With so many retail companies, as long as they're expanding, you just own that stock and you're going to get thousands of percent of return. But once they finish that expansion and you're starting to see them close stores, get out.
Yeah, it's saturation.
Yep.
Dollar coffee is not the answer.
It's not the answer. Not when McDonald's is going to the $3 coffee.
Exactly.
Let's bring on our first guest. We are joined to talk a lot about the Fed by Fed expert Doug Roberts from Channel Capital Research.
Hi,
welcome back to the show,
Hey,
man.
Cody. Good to see you guys again.
Man. So how about this Fed? We finally get through it, and we only have, 48 days till the next one, and we can get all worried about what the Fed's going to do next. But for now, at least, we know they've brought it down to another 50 basis points.
Correct.
And your reaction? Is it gameable? Is it time to buy? Is it shortable? What's the story?
Basically, the Fed, this was a very good move for the Fed. Number one, they had baked into the expectations. They were continuing to lower rates with the 75 basis point cut. If they hadn't given them 50 basis points, they'd have risked undoing a lot of the stability that they did with the initial.
It ended up doing nothing.
No, essentially, sometimes nothing is good when the alternative is going down. Right now, I think Cody's correct in that you can't stop a recession, but what you can do is you can cushion a downturn. And that was the Greenspan mantra, was to act proactively to try to, they couldn't stop something, they couldn't prick bubbles, they could just deal with essentially the outcome of a blown-up bubble.
They can't prick them, but they can create them with all of this free money. And that's, again, what I'm worried that we're actually setting ourselves up for. I think we're basically, with the Fed getting this aggressive and with the fiscal policies getting this aggressive, I'm worried that we're heading into another technology bubble. And if it's not a bubble in technology, there's going to be a bubble somewhere else because you can't keep pumping new liquidity into the system.
Well, there is an interesting aspect to that. What you're really talking about is bailing out the so-called moral hazard.
Right.
Bailing out people, figuring there's no cost to the risk, and therefore, why not sit there and participate in the party?
And you just got through saying that the Fed did a good thing because the downside is the alternative. But you know what? The downside is okay. Like, people should lose money sometimes. It's what you just said.
No, but in essence, there is a cost to that, because if we do go into a steep recession, you're going to pay for it a different way. With the safety net built into the fiscal system with unemployment, you're going to be paying for it that way. So it's a question of which way you pay for it. Now, the one thing you have to realize is Bernanke is doing something very smart, something a lot of people don't realize. He's infusing a lot of the liquidity using the temporary auction facilities, the term auction facilities. And as a result of that, he's dealing directly with the banks. You have to realize that the banks are regulated. So therefore, if you're bailing them out, you can impose fees, costs, regulation. It's kind of like your auto insurance. There is no moral hazard with auto insurance.
Directly colluding with, dealing with the banks.
But I actually think that's who we need to help. Let's help the banks. We'll do it with the auction. When you give the market everything it asks for, I always say, it's like when my son asks for M&Ms for breakfast, and I give it to him. That's pretty much what... No, but if I did, it would be exactly like what Ben Bernanke did today. You don't think he caved to the market at all?
No, I think what he's doing is it's almost like with my son, when he wants French fries, I say you have a limited number of French fries, and if you have one today, you lose it over the weekend. That at this point, what he's saying to the banks is he's to say, through using the auction facilities and emphasizing the discount rate more, he's leaning toward that. He's also using open market activity. He's saying we will have...
So you gave him 5 fries.
I guess. No, actually 50 fries in this situation.
There you go, 50. 125 so far in the last couple of weeks. Lots of salt, extra crispy. Now, my question is this, though. If the Fed really is continually doing this, and we're starting to see, there's responses in a lot, like the bond insurers getting downgraded today, they could not stop that. And so it comes back to that same sort of thing. Do we have a binary outcome heading for this economy itself, where we either end up in some sort of harsh recession that the Fed couldn't stop anyway, or we end up creating these bubbles in the market, say Dow goes to 18,000?
I don't think the Dow will go to 18,000. What you're talking about, Cody, is new bubbles, and there may be new bubbles somewhere else, but typically old bubbles don't reinflate because people have long memories. The Depression was the perfect example. People stayed away from stocks after that for a generation, and that was just as speculative.
Yeah, but we're all buying tech again. We're all buying tech again after that tech bubble. Nobody seemed to remember that.
Yeah, but you have to realize that tech is still not anywhere near its highs from 8 years ago. It's been an 8-year cycle, and you're pretty close to not even breaking even.
So do you think they'll cut again?
I think depending upon the employment numbers that come out on Friday, the initial claims numbers, that's what's going to determine it. in terms of how much they will do. And I think that's one of the reasons why the market sold off at the end of the day.
So the same banks that destroy the economy need to get bailed out to save the economy. Makes sense to me or not.
Rate. Doug, thank you so much.
Doug, thanks so much. Great to see you again.
Good to see you guys as well.
On Tap, their technology helps you see what you want on TV, and they could be taking the industry by storm. Get the names and the scoop when Happy Hour returns.
It's an internet revolution.